Hi, Shalom, and thank you for virtually welcoming me into your community. I want to share with you one of my favorite stories of all times. It's a Hasidic tale, and it took place in Poland 300 years ago. And there's this guy, Moshe, who's the pillar of the community, and one day he walks into the rabbi's office and says, "Rabbi, my whole life I've been giving to this community. I was generous and I donated a lot, and I never asked for anything in return. But now I want to ask a favor of you." The rabbi says, "Of course, everything, anything you'll want." "Rabbi, I would like to meet Elijah the prophet." The rabbi looks at him and says, "You sure? Elijah? How would I make that happen?" But Moshe looks at him and says, "Rabbi, I trust you. I want to meet Elijah. It's the only thing I'll ever ask of you, and I trust you to make that happen." The rabbi went aside for a few minutes, and then he came back to Moshe and he said, "Okay, you know what? I'll make you a deal. A week from now is Rosh Hashanah, the new year. You're going to pack up your wagon with food for the holiday, and you're going to spend the holiday in an address I'm going to give you. You're going to leave your family, pack up everything, and leave. And then you'll meet Elijah the prophet." Moshe trusts the rabbi, and before Rosh Hashanah, he packs up everything he can possibly need, extra food, extra blankets, everything. And he travels to this unknown address that the rabbi gave him, and when he gets there, it's a falling apart shack. And he knocks on the door, and this woman, who's a widow, opens up the door, looks at him and says, "What? How can I help you?" And he says, "Hi, I'm Moshe, and I came to spend Rosh Hashanah here." The woman looks at him and says, "Look, this is all very nice, but I don't have where to put you. I don't have an extra bed. I don't have food for you." Moshe looks at her, smiles, and says, "Don't worry. Look at my wagon. I have everything I can possibly need, plus extra for you and your family for the week." And she doesn't have a choice, and he spends Rosh Hashanah there. And it's a great holiday. He spends all night studying Torah with the older child, and it's really a great holiday. But Elijah is nowhere to be found. Moshe goes back home, and he knocks on the rabbi's door and said, "Rabbi, you cheated me. Elijah wasn't there." The rabbi says, "Are you sure he wasn't there? Did you look carefully?" Moshe says, "I looked carefully. He was nowhere to be found." The rabbi thought for a minute and said, "Okay, you know what? Maybe I got the wrong information. A week from today is Yom Kippur, the holiest day of atonement. You are going to spend Yom Kippur in that same address that I gave you for Rosh Hashanah. Pack up everything you need before and after the fast, and then I promise you, you'll meet Elijah." Moshe is a little bit suspicious, but the rabbi said, so he's going to trust him one more time. And before Yom Kippur, he packs up everything and he travels again to that unknown address, knowing that this time they might be happier to see him. And he arrives, and he's about to knock on the door when he hears an argument going inside the house. And he hears the mother arguing with the older child, the one that he spent all Rosh Hashanah studying with. And he's saying, "Mom, I don't care. I am not fasting on Yom Kippur. All year, we have nothing to eat. Out of protest, I am not fasting on Yom Kippur." And the mother's crying and begging and saying, "Please, you have to fast. It's Yom Kippur." But the son is stubborn. He says, "I am not fasting." Moshe is about to knock on the door again when he hears the son turning to his mother, and he says, "You know what, Mom? I'll make you a deal. If Elijah the prophet shows up on our doorstep for Yom Kippur the same way he did for Rosh Hashanah, then I'll fast." And the moral of this story is that oftentimes we're looking outside for an Elijah, for a herald of redemption to come and save us, to come and bring to the world the change that we want to see, that we're so desperate to see. But the truth of the matter is that inside each and every one of us, there's a fraction of an Elijah. And the change that we want to see in the world starts from us. And the opening prayer on Yom Kippur is Kol Nidrei. And we read, "Kol Nidrei ועשרי ושבועי וחרמי וכינויי Shvitin betelin umevutalin. Meaning that all the vows that we took upon ourselves, they're all canceled come as the new year is entered. And Rabbi Adin Stanzarz has a beautiful interpretation for this, saying that all of the nicknames that we put upon ourselves, they're all canceled, all of the labels. All of the I can't, I'm not good at it, I won't be able to. Coming the new year, they're all canceled and we have to start fresh. Meaning we can and we would. And I don't know if you ever heard of Chana Senesh. Chana Senesh was an Israeli-Hungarian paratrooper who joined the efforts against the Nazis in World War II. And unfortunately, she was caught and sentenced to death. And she was a poet as well. And when you read about her life, you cannot wonder what made this lovely little young. And when you read about her life, you cannot wonder what made this lovely young woman leave her relatively comfortable life here in Israel, in Caesarea, and join the efforts against the Nazis. And one of her poems gives the answers. And it says, Kol kara vehalachti. I heard a voice and I followed. I followed because I heard a voice. Now all of us always have different voices in our heads asking us, telling us to do different things. To eat healthy, to join the gym, to call our grandparents more often, to be better people. And oftentimes we ignore those voices. And what was so unique about Chana Senesh is that she heard the voice and she followed. She did not ignore that voice. She knew that she'll probably die during the war, but she still said, someone needs me. The world needs us right now. We all have different voices that are saying, we need you in the community, we need you in Israel, we need you in different places, but we need you. A few years ago, I heard a voice calling me and saying, Women of the Wall need you. Women of the Wall is a group of women from all denominations that are bringing change at the Western Wall, praying that women will be able to pray according to our tradition with the talit, tefillin, out loud, and the Torah. And the voice that's calling us says that Israel needs this change to change the ultra-Orthodox monopoly here in Israel. So every Jew will be able to practice their Judaism according to their tradition. Now I have a 3-year-old daughter, her name is Golan, and one of her favorite books at the moment is about an older lady who's making latkes for her rabbi. She knows her rabbi is coming for a visit, and she hears a knock on the door, and it's a bear. But she doesn't see well and she doesn't hear well. So she thinks it's the rabbi and she feeds him and she gives him a scarf and she's nice to him. And only later on when he leaves and the real rabbi comes in, she understands that a bear came in and ate all of her food. And what I want to wish you for the new year, I want to wish myself as well, is to be blind, but in the good sense of the word. Not to be blind for the change that needs to be done, but to be blind for the differences between each other, to help each other, to be good to each other, no matter who and what we are. Shana Tova and Chag Sameach. Thank you.